All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. It's on a Wednesday. It's not Thursday for us like it usually is. And there I am. I'm gonna make sure my screen just went black. Now it's back. Okay, I'm back on. So yeah, it's a Wednesday. It's not Thursday like we usually are, and that's just because we wanted to make it we always look out for our guests, and if they need another day to make this work on Forward, Forward is very flexible. Rewind is always Thursdays, but Forward where I'm very flexible. So going a day early on this one, just so our guests can make it in, and that's why we're here on a Wednesday. A little earlier too, because like I said, our guest is in Ireland, and the time zones and everything, we just want to make it convenient for them. So yeah, we got a great guest. He started out very young, just like Ricky Henry, the Canary Kid, and he's a very good friend of his, and his name is John McCann, and we're going to be talking to him about him and how he started out and his career and everything, and it's going to be a great conversation. But one thing I do need to get to first, and I see Canary Kid there. I see your comment. So excited. We're all excited. And so Canary Kid in here listening with us. But one thing I forgot to do on last week's show that I can't believe I did this, because I always play the 3-minute promo of what's going on the video network next, and I forgot to play it. So I'm going to play that video quick, and then it'll come back to me, and then I'll bring our guest in. So let me get this video knocked out for all our viewers quick, and then we'll be right back. It's just 3 minutes or so. It just shows you what's going on the video network next. So we'll watch that quick, and then I'll be right back with you.
Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another week of NWF National Wrestling Federation Professional Wrestling. Yeah! Tonight we have a spectacular card lined up for you.
Rick Pitts
right
a
now,
couple weeks ago.
Lock up with the Mystery Man and Ice Dragon. Mystery Man forcing Ice Dragon back into the corner, and a series of forearm blows. A reversal! And he has a Mystery Man in the corner, double teaming by the Ice Dragon. Here, the Mystery Man now retaliating. The scoop and the slam.
He's
up. The suplex. Ow! The suplex to the mat.
What's this?
What is this?
Drop.
Oh!
German suplex, belly to back suplex. And what Krassen's saying around with him, I don't know.
Whipped in, clothesline.
Oh my life.
To the crush. Holding the small of his back. I think he hurt him. Oh!
I remember in my battles with Krassen, he always won because of his experience.
Wait, we have...
Not another.
The pile driver. Oh.
A forward pile driver?
They're piled into each other. Number one going in against Russian number one. Oh, obviously the big Russian not too agile. Commentator Jeff Kinsmore out to the area. Wait a minute, here we have wrestlers coming in. There they go. Get the big Russians out.
Go ahead. Oh, heck, breaking loose.
What do they call Texas? The North Star State? Clothesline by Dr. Dredd. Pretty Boy Taylor's chest. The scoop, spin around. Wait a minute, he knocked the ref. What happened to Rick Pitts? Wait a minute, we have the figure 4 leg lock. Look at this. Wait a minute, Dion Dallas. What is he doing? What is going on? Ring the bell.
I've got you at the end of this night. And believe you me, it's going to be a match of first blood.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you haven't heard it.
This is wild and heavy action tonight. Outlaw Dion. Yes.
But absolutely.
What is it tonight with these wrestlers?
I don't know. Outlaw Dion's more like a rattlesnake rather than a wrestler. Look at this boy. Wait a minute, too.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. The preview for show 110 going on the video network on September 1st. And that's the first of the Dry Dock series. That's the very towards the end of the whole league, everybody. That was the transition, I guess you could say, as we kind of evolved from kids wrestling into a regular independent promotion. And great show. we still have a lot of the kids in it, just not the little kids. The little kids were gone by this. We didn't have our lightweight division anymore, but it is what it is. Still a great time. I mean, I like all the different phases of the league, and that's of course the ending of it. It was a good time. All right, enough of this. Let's get in with our guest that we have with us here, all the way from Ireland, and of course it's late for him over there. It's after 11 o'clock. Let's get him in here, and none other than the Irish grappler, John McCann.
Hello, Carson. It's good to be here.
Welcome in. It's great to finally have you. I've been saying forever that I really got to get John on the show. Having learned all about you guys and and everything that you've been doing over there, I really wanted to get you on here. So I'm glad that we're finally able to make you come in here. And of course, all of our I forgot to silence my phone. Take care of that. And so it's great to have you. And so yeah, it's really cool. I see Canary Kid's all excited. Speaking of Canary Kid, I gotta do a little promotion, not a promotion, but a promo here on this. I've been getting a lot of heat from our NWF fans on what happened on Wrestling Revolution's Keaton show. Let me just say this. The last person that called Crusher Crossan a schmuck is 6 feet under pushing up daisies. Now, I didn't want to say anything. Look, I'm a gentleman. I'm not going to say anything on Wrestling Revolution Keaton. I'm the kind of a guest there. But this is NWF territory. And let me tell you something. Canary, you better watch your beak, because when you start smarting off like this with Crusher Crossan, you might just tempt me to come out of retirement, and you don't want that. You've had enough to deal with John McCann and the rest of them over there. But if I come over there, I'll take that championship back from you so fast and bring it back here and add it to my wall back there. It'll make your feathers fly. So you don't want to mess with the 5-timer. So I just have to get that in there for my NWF fans, John, as you understand.
I understand. 5-time, yeah.
5-time, yes. Well, that's just one title. And boy, I tell you something that, but and like I said, you just don't want to have me come out of retirement because you think that Viking was a problem for you. Look, and I hate to do it to Nathan and the promotion, and I hate to say it, John, but I would cripple the Canary Kid if I came out of retirement. We don't want to do that. So, a little bit of in-character fun. Got to get that in there. Like I said, I'm not going to go on Wrestling Revolution Keaton. I just have to be, cool, calm, collective. But here on NWF, we pull no punches, right? All right. So, and John, you've had plenty of matches with the Canary Kid. Speaking of him,
I have indeed. It's coming up there about, we're not far from double digits now, I'd say.
Yeah.
I don't think we are. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. Out of all the guys you've wrestled over there, in the company, D.D. Crooks, the Canary Kid, and amongst the others that come in, on the outside that they bring in to have, come into you and you faced off with, who's been your favorite opponent so far?
It's difficult to put it down to one. Like, I've always loved my matches with Ricky or Canary. That's not biasness just because he's in here, but
right,
to be able to do his debut and other people's debut, it's an experience that you can't really put a favorite match to. It's something I just love to do, especially when I'm someone else's first experience of how wrestling is. It's kind of crazy. So it's that kind of type of match is my favorite, but I wouldn't say I have a singular favorite. I've had big matches, but the experience of being able to be someone's first it's the best.
Oh yeah. And something, you guys work so well together, you can tell when people have ring chemistry. And I talked to Ricky about this when we had him on the very first show. And it's obvious, it's evident that you guys have ring chemistry. So that always, and when you have chemistry with somebody, it just makes it so much better, and that starts with friendship, and you guys are friends, right? Off the outside the ring, and that's where chemistry starts. You gotta you gotta like each other, right? So that's a big thing. But we got all sorts of comments. Let's get a few comments in here. Because otherwise I'll lose track of all of them. And Well, Canary's really excited for the show.
He is big. He's up
Yeah,
for
he
it.
says, "Go, John," and
I'll take it.
he says, "John is his hero." So yeah, he's all up behind you.
Yep. He is
Can't
indeed.
say he was
Well,
like that for me and Keaton the other day, but yeah, he seems to be backing you pretty well here. So good for him.
He is.
Um,
Oh,
and then oh, look at this. He says, "Okay, sorry for the disrespect, Schmucker crossing." So he's going on. He's going to continue that schmuck line. All right. And then what's this? I'm reading this. I haven't even read it yet, folks. We're going to read it together. I'd hate Crossen to come out of retirement. I would hate to have to beat up a paraplegic, washed up schmuck. Oh yeah. Well, you don't want me. Like I said, John, he doesn't want me out of retirement. I wouldn't want to cripple a bird either. So
yeah.
what can we do?
He doesn't want the smoke crossing. He doesn't want the smoke. And I don't want it either.
And in all seriousness, I have been talking to Darren and Keaton. Maybe next year, maybe I might visit Ireland. I'm still thinking of coming out. I want to see a show in person, and then maybe
100%.
spend a day at the juniors training as well. But yeah, so I'm still thinking about that. But anyways, then Sky Sports says you get that heel crusher. Did I come off a little heelish there? I guess I have that same. I have that same bug Canary has, where I kind of sound heel. But look, I'm just being confident. That's all.
Confidence is key.
Benjamin says, Nelson says, Crusher versus Canary. I'm here for it. And then these guys keep talking. Let's see. Let's get the latest ones. And then he says, I'm in Crusher's corner for this one, brother. Well, at least I got some support in Ireland. I don't know. I think if I went in there and plucked the feathers, I'd probably get booed right out of Ireland. But,
I reckon you might. But here, you know what? We need that title out of here. Put it around the world and bring it back to us.
Maybe I shouldn't have done my little promo. I'm getting so many comments on this, and I want to focus on you. But let's get through them quick. Great. Last time you were in someone's corner, I retained my title, kid. The kid talking to the kid, I guess you could say. And then Damian Thorne says, Crusher, he says, you could always just clip his wings.
You could.
Oh, yeah. That's fun times, fun stuff. But now let's get back to you, John. So now how old were you when you first started?
When I first started, I was around 14. Yeah, it was about 14.
14?
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't have a juniors training at that point, right? So you were just in the training, right?
Yeah, no, it was just adults training.
Right.
A lot of the guys that I was working with were big guys, but
was it
kinda
intimidating for you being so small and young?
it was, but also the passion for it at that time. I was so excited to step in the ring for the first time. That just kind of came over everything.
Sure. And hang on, I gotta silence this phone too. I have two phones. I have a work phone as well, and this one's making noise. So you were 14, and we're gonna watch some videos and stuff of John in action. In fact, we can start him up now, and we'll just keep asking questions. But let's get into that. And you'll see this first footage we're gonna see of John is around that time when you first started, give or take maybe a year. And you'll see, I want you to pay attention to what John looked like, because he was definitely body-wise was a much more round. This is the way Ricky describes it. I'm going to go with that word. But see, just watch the transformation through all these videos and how John has developed. It's just crazy to see. So let's take a look at this. We're going to start with some real early stuff here, guys. In fact, this is Ricky and John right here. Some early training stuff, and just like different series that you guys were working on, and and see, look at that, and just to see John, he's just totally different look even here. A little bit shorter, I guess you could say, right?
100%.
Just look at his face. You can see you're young. You can see you're young in that. I'm using this and this is I love this clip. Watch this, guys.
First 450 ever.
Yep, 450, and That's how you do it, folks. When you're going to start practicing, you got to use crash. The dummies.
Mhm.
And I don't know who are you facing off here, John?
That was one of our like earlier days trainees. I don't think no, he's no longer with us. He's not dead, but he's not with
With the
NIPW
company?
anymore. Yeah, I don't think he's done wrestling anymore
Sure.
since us. Yeah.
It's funny, the referee not having the shirt tucked in. We had our guys that too. And it looks like a dress. It just reminds
Yeah.
me of back in our day when we did that too. Guys wouldn't
Oh,
tuck the shirt in.
fuck
I'd always get on them on that, like tuck the shirt in. So now this is
that's cool.
this is more training stuff. This is it's a 6-man tag training match,
Hmm.
and you're in the ring right now with DD Crooks,
Mhm.
and there's Ricky starting his beak off in there in the side of the apron there,
Constantly chirping as the bird does.
as a bird does, Tweety bird, I guess you could say. But I'm gonna get Ricky all over me if I don't. I got to calm down. I can't keep doing that.
Once you get him started, he doesn't stop.
Yeah.
I tell you,
Oh, he knows I'm having fun with him, though. He knows. But you know what's great about it? He can't talk back, John. He has to just listen. Sometimes you need to learn to listen, and that's what he has to do, right? On this situation. Yeah. Although I was a face, I love doing heel stuff.
Yeah, I'm the same. I love heel stuff just for the main fact of like I can pace myself rather than have to wait until someone else pacing me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Here's a question from Damien for you, John. I'm bringing it in before I lose track of it. Who was your first match, and did you win it?
Okay, so my first match was against a wrestler you may or may not know, but you will know the guy who plays him,
Mm-hmm.
Young Lion, Nathan Hoy.
Okay. Yep.
So my trainer was my first match, yeah, and I lost it.
Went well.
And when, yeah, I'd say it went well. Yeah, yeah, it was definitely. It is up there with like one of my most favorite matches, just because how excited I was for it. Like
And
there's nothing like a debut.
was it here at the Lions Den Dojo? Is that where it took place at? Yeah.
Yeah, it was in Ryan's Den, early 2021 or 2020.
Well, my guess is, and I'm just guessing, but I would say the reason you probably had a match with Nathan, your trainer, is because you were young. He wanted to get you into it with only person he could trust himself to have that first
Yes, I
match.
would have thought so as well,
Yeah,
yeah. Hmm.
which makes sense, because it was new territory for Nathan. Is having young guys, in training and stuff, which I understand he took a lot of, some criticism from other different, people having young, like with Ricky too, and but you guys proved them all wrong, so
100%.
yeah.
That's the best thing about it, though, like to be able to show Nathan that he was right on
Yeah.
choosing us and keeping us. That's the best thing.
And the best part is he got you guys young and trained and developed so that now that you're 18 and like you're well seasoned, very schooled at this point,
I try to be.
Well, you are,
Yeah.
I know you think that, and you can always learn more, and you're going to, but
Mhm.
where you're at to where a lot of people are at coming into the business at your age, you're well above them. And remember that.
I appreciate that.
Because
Thank
you
you.
are. Now this is DD Crooks against John.
Yes.
And a little bit, how many years from what we just seen is this footage?
It's probably about 2-3 years. Probably
2 to
coming
3
up to
years.
about 3 years now.
Okay, 2 to 3 years
Christmas
later.
time.
All right.
Mhm.
I like DD Crooks as a heel. I think he's great at it.
He is.
I
He knows his
especially
stuff
like the thing when he does that temper tantrum. Like he'll do it. I call it a temper tantrum. He gets on his back and he just kicks his arms and feet and he gets so mad. That's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
Breaks.
What was that?
Kind of like one of the UK wrestlers here, Crybaby Jim Breaks.
Oh, is that what he does?
Yeah, he was kind of like that.
But Crooks has just got that look. He's got that heel look, on his
Yeah,
face.
he did.
Yeah,
Easy to hit.
he really does. Let's see. So Canary is still barking at me. Let's
Far cry from
see. He says I'm cruising for a bruising. Well, I give Canary credit. He's got a lot of he's daring, bold, just like I was, and I guess if I
yeah.
was him, I would say the same thing. So I got to give him props for that. So he's got a question now for you. He says,
Yeah.
John, did you receive any injuries in your debut in that match with Nathan?
No, I didn't. No. Nathan carried me through that very safely, and if I was put in the spot that he was with me being so new, I don't think I would have been able to carry someone as well as he did. So
Did Nathan stick to more traditional wrestling style, like not too many high bumps or anything like that?
yeah, it was mostly that. Yeah, yeah. It was
Yeah.
just simple wrestling, stick to the basics.
Hmm.
The only bad thing that kind of went wrong in that match was so when I got hit to finish, the ref counted 1, 2, and then the bell rang, and we were both like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Sorry, John. I thought I silenced this thing. There we go. So what happened then? Did you say the bell?
So the ref counted 1, 2, and then the bell rang, and then Nathan was like, I don't know, I'll hit him another RKO. So I received 2 RKOs, and so what else?
Well, speaking of the
A
ref and the
ref.
bell, Ricky told us a story about what happened with JDP reffing a match where you
Yeah,
kept choking the guy and you didn't break the 5 count, and then you got disqualified.
yep.
Uh, what was going through your mind at that moment?
So I thought it was going really well, and then within a split second, my mind went from I've got these people in my palm of my hand to what have I just done? Like I didn't know what to do. I'd never had that happen before, so it was just like it was a culture shock of oh no, time to freeze up, and
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know.
what do you do? I mean, I guess fortunately for you guys, your opponents kind of seen what happened and then made it work, and the match continued. But but yeah. So Canary's got more questions. Let's see what this one is. He says, if you were to watch one of your matches for the rest of your life, what match would you choose? If you had to just watch a match over and over.
I'd say like from my matches or from like any match ever.
He says one of your matches.
Okay, so I feel like I'd watch me and Ricky's debut match, like our first match together,
The
just
very first
because.
one?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that one. Because I always feel like through every match that I've done, that's the one that's kind of really held up against time. Like it's one of the
Hmm.
ones early in my career that was actually really good, and
Yeah,
I was really happy to do it with one of my best friends. So there's nothing better than that.
sure. I mean, and like you said, you cherish the matches you've had with him to begin with. So it's it shouldn't be a shocker that you picked that one. It's probably why he
Yeah,
asked the question.
yeah, probably was.
Um, Canary Kid's wanting to know what your favorite beer is as well.
Coors Light any day of the week.
So wait
Catch
a
me
minute
on a
now.
Sunday.
Let's stop here a minute. What is the drinking age in Ireland? Is it 18?
18. Yes, isn't it
Oh,
21 over in Canada?
well, yeah. It used to be 19 when I was growing up, and then they changed it to 21, and that didn't stop any of us though from drinking ever. As kids and growing up,
Yeah.
you find your way to the liquor cabinet, but
Mhm.
I think everybody's got that story when they first drank and they got so drunk and then they were
Yeah.
sick the next day, and we all went through it. Canary Kid wants to know, do you have any tattoos?
No, I don't, but I'm thinking about maybe getting one. The thing is, with tattoos, they kind of tie you down to one character. So it's kind of hard to, if you want to switch things up, you want to be a mask guy, you can't do it.
Right.
Why? Because you got a tattoo and everybody recognizes you.
Unless you had to do some kind of a gimmick where it covers it up, but you're right. Yeah. Um, let's see. We got questions. They keep rolling in. We get lots of questions for you, not just Canary. Let's see. I don't want to miss this one from Ben. He says, How
First
did it
time.
feel? How did it feel to be the first ever person to win the junior heavyweight championship?
To be honest, it was something that I didn't really fully experience until I had it in my hands the day after, and I sat in my living room looking at it, and I couldn't believe the night prior because not only had I been able to do a match with my best friend in one of the best crowds that we have,
Yep,
but I
I've
also
seen the match.
I
Yep,
got something from it. I achieved something from it, and I was told from day one from Nathan that I'd be a champion someday, and to actually have that in my hands after competing for it, it was surreal. There was nothing that can really describe how it felt.
sure. And winning a title for the first time or having that first championship, it's very special. Like you'll remember for the rest of your life. Even when you
100%.
get other titles, like all those belts back there. I've held a lot of them, but the one that I really remember is the main one, right? So it's like, and it's the same with that title you got there. You're gonna no matter what championships you get going through all this, and you probably will get more as life goes on, John. Honestly, but
Hopefully,
yeah, I think if you stay in the business, you probably are. But you're never gonna
yeah,
forget the NIPW junior heavyweight title. It's just you always remember
not at
that one.
all.
Yeah.
hmm
Um. Yeah, this is a question from Canary. It's actually kind of a good one. I'm going to bring it in. Um, has John ever been to any music festivals?
Yes, yes, I have. I was recently at one of our local ones, which actually brought in some big artists, which I wouldn't say any of you would know, but like I'm possibly going to another one at the end of this month, which I'm kind of excited for because I paid 70 quid for tickets again. So fingers crossed I can get there with easy travel.
Sure. And I'm going to jump to this question quick, just because it ties to what we're watching here.
Mhm.
Ben, I'll go back to the other questions. Ben says, if tag titles get introduced, could we see a next level reunion with you and Canary Kid, which is what we're seeing right here, the next level in the ring?
To be able to see that in an NIPW ring would mean the world to me. Like it's me and Canary have been fighting for it ever since like we kind of stopped teaming. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, like I watched the interview with you and Canary, and he is right. It's just things haven't matched up. Time hasn't happened where we've both been free to be able to do something like that. But you know what? We've got a tag tournament coming up, and here, you know what? If you lose that title, I know there's only one thing that me and you're going to be doing, and it's going to be getting those tag titles.
Yeah, I told, well, you seen that what I thought. I think it'd be cool if they did like a triple threat tag title or tag team match for the belts. Get you guys in there as well, and just have a 3-way dance like that would be pretty cool to watch. Um,
hmm
there's all sorts of things you can do. Um, let me get back to my questions where we're at though, so I don't lose track. So Canary, I don't. Are you autistic, John?
I'm not, but I haven't
Okay,
been diagnosed, so I don't
so
know.
I think he's saying you are. What is the biggest struggle of being a wrestler with autism? Well, I'll tell you what the big struggle would be with Canary Kid is if John and I teamed up when I come over there and take care of uh, this beak problem he's got here, calling you autistic, huh?
Well, you know what? Crossing, I'll leave that for you to ask him next time he chirps on for NWF Rewind again. So,
Yeah. I haven't even read this one yet. It's a big one, so I'll just bring it in and read it. But it's sports talk. I always take his questions. Crusher, you talked about wrestling heels in the NWF in your past. With John and Ricky's videos, can you see the important role a heel can play in a match to keep the fans involved? Absolutely. It's the heel's responsibility to get the heat, and if the heel isn't doing a good job of it, that's on the heel. And it's really not a hard thing to do. When you're a heel, we've talked about this on Rewind all the time. It is easy to get boos. It's not difficult, right? You just do things, and you got to. you know, you got to insult the fans, and then you will get the boos, no matter how popular you think you are. Or, you know, if you're very popular, you double cross somebody, make it a double standard, you'll get the boos, right? But it's the heel's job, and if the heel's doing a good job, the face has a very easy night, and he gets the cheers, right? And it just works. You get that chemistry, right, John?
100%. Yeah, like I love my time as heel, so yeah, I agree with this.
Damien's asking, speaking of heels, John, were you ever a heel in your matches?
Yes, I was. Like personally, I've said it so many times, even just within this like 20 minute space of time that I've been here. I love my heel stuff. It's one of my favorite times of my career. It's where I started kind of experimenting with wrestling, just trying new things and seeing what would work and what wouldn't. So yeah, I love that kind of time in my career.
Well, that match that you
Hopefully I
like,
get back
the
here.
match where you got the title for the first time when you went against Ricky, I thought you were doing some really good heel work there in the beginning. Like when they had the signs up and everything, and you're like there at the apron, and you're pointing and yelling and getting in, like, I don't know what you were saying, but I can only imagine. And it was probably like,
Yeah.
that's just the look on your face, you know. And then you had that kind of that blank look, that kind of smirk look that you would do and not say anything. It was just very good. It was very good heel tactics, you know. So it's
I appreciate
and
that.
and it's fun. It honestly is fun to be a heel, and obviously it goes without saying, right?
100%. Hmm.
Um. Okay, so Canary Kid's got a question. He says, John, what is your wrestling Mount Rushmore, and what is your NIPW NXG Mount Rushmore? So wrestling,
So I'm assuming
basically
all the
Mount
time.
Rushmore for the business, and then Mount Rushmore for your league.
Okay, so for the business side, I'm kind of more old school, and it's kind of just more the guys that like I would tend to watch. Like Harley Race is definitely the first on that Mount Rushmore.
Who?
Um,
I'm sorry, John. Who was it?
Harley Race,
Oh, Harley
he's gonna be
Race.
the
Okay,
first
so
one.
he's your first.
Mhm. I tend to take a lot of stuff from him when it's like heel work or anything of that stuff. I like Jake the Snake quite a bit. His 8 to 10 minute matches on WWF were fantastic.
Yeah, Jake the Snake
Um,
Roberts.
so Jake Snake, uh, Harley Race, Tully Blanchard of the Four Horsemen,
Okay, Dolly
and Ric Flair.
and Ric Flair.
There's so many names. It's like
It's a good Mount
not been
Rushmore,
put on
though.
that list. It's
Yeah,
criminal. What is it?
I said it's a good Mount Rushmore. I mean, Harley
Yeah,
Race. Out of all the group of names you mentioned, Harley Race one of the toughest in real life. Like,
yeah.
you didn't want to mess with him outside the ring. Don't come.
Mhm.
Don't go to a bar and
Okay.
call it fake or something. He'll. Yeah, he was a tough guy.
It's the best thing about him though. Like he portrayed that character so well in the ring. You could
Yeah.
tell he wasn't a guy to mess with, no matter what.
No,
He
he
wasn't.
was a legitimate tough guy.
Hmm.
So now, what
I
would be the NIPW NXG Mount Rushmore?
might rush for NXG. Gotta put myself up there because I was the
John
first
McCann.
entrant in NXT.
Yeah.
I was the first person to take a bump in NXT. I was also the first person to step through the ropes in NXT.
Yeah.
The amount of firsts I've done, I've paved the path for everybody. So you know what? I gotta put myself there.
Nothing wrong with that.
Um, just because it would give me a wee ego boost. I'll fire Canary Kid in there.
Okay. Well,
But
birds like to hang around Mount Rushmore, and they make nests up there, so I can see that. I'm making
yeah.
friends, ain't I? Okay. And who's next?
Um, it's torn between Chris Mercer and Dee Crooks. Because
Okay.
both of those guys are the top guys of
Okay. So if it's
NWF.
torn between them two, and I agree, they're both great choices. From what I know, who's the other one then that you're trying to get into this list?
It's gotta be Nate Maddox. The
Nate
guy who runs
Maddox.
the place wouldn't be happening without him.
Okay. So yeah, and then so then it kind of comes down to Crooks and Mercer, huh? It's kind of like you're just not sure.
Not sure, but you know what? I'll take a side just because you know what? He recently won our world championship, or what would be our world championship.
Yeah, I seen
I'll say
that.
that commercial,
Yeah.
but it's a very tough one.
Keaton gave me an update on all that, so I see that, and
Mm.
I could tell. Keaton was getting his pictures with all you guys outside after the show, and the face on Ricky's still a little sour on that show. I think he still didn't like those line of questioning that Keaton was giving him.
Yeah, no, he looked a bit sad.
Yeah. So this is you guys work well together as a tag team.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just wish that we had.
This
a
guy
lot
looks
more
like, you
time
know what
back
this guy,
then.
I'm sorry to cut you off, John. You know what this guy looks like that just kicked out? He looks like Y2K, Chris Jericho. Kind of has that look.
He does.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the long blonde hair, and at least back in the day. Um,
Mhm.
let's see, let's bring in Benjamin's comment here. And by the way, Benjamin Nelson, folks, that's Ben Nelson. We had him on Forward here. Was it last show that we did, or the show before? I can't remember. I think it was the last show. If tag titles get introduced, could we see next level reunion with you and Canary?
I've talked about it once, and I'll talk about it again. I don't think there's anything else that I'd want other than that. If that ends up happening, I give me anybody else, and I don't think it'll feel the same. Me and Canary have clicked since day one, so you know what? I'd take Canary.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. And then he also says, "Hey, hold your horses, big fella. Dead Gorgeous will be those holding titles before yours."
The closest you will get to them is looking at them. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, the tag titles. That'll be interesting. So you'll have a junior heavyweight championship, which I like to consider. That's like the lesser title. That's like the introductory title, right? And then
It's kind of like our Intercontinental, our workhorse championship. The guy
I
that
was gonna
runs the
say,
place.
like the junior heavyweight, the lightweight, if you will.
Mhm.
I don't think, now that I think of it, I don't know if I could get that belt because I probably don't. I'm in that. I'd be heavyweight. I'm not lightweight. So there's that. But and besides, you don't want me taking the title back here. If we go on my wall and you never see it again. So
Either way, it's going
yeah.
to Canada.
Yeah, like when what if Ricky had a title defense in Canada and he lost it? I mean, I don't think it would happen.
Show up for a Money in the Bank.
That would
And
not
you
be
cash it in.
that would not be a good thing. Now who's this we're watching now? This is you and
So this is Colin Black. He's from Dublin, and yeah, it's Colin Black.
so you like working with these guys that are normally not in your training circle that come in and enjoy these matches?
It's a really good learning experience. Anytime that I'm on with someone who isn't from our circle, like I get a new kind of idea of wrestling, or maybe I'll get like a spot from them that I really like, or a sequence that I really like. It's always a good experience.
Yeah.
I learn something from them every time.
Yeah, it's anytime you're in the ring, especially as somebody who's got experience and stuff,
Mhm.
Let's see. We got a Gizmo in the house here. One of our regulars. Let's see what he's got to say. John, you look and act like Ricky's older brother in this video. Looks like Ricky was getting beat. He tagged you in and you cleaned house. Are you featured more as a power wrestler in your matches? Kind of like the powerhouse of the team. Like for instance, I'll give you an example. And I'm not saying this is Ricky, but Ricky could be that high flying mechanism, and then you're the kind of the brute force that comes in, the cleanup guy.
Yeah, 100%. I would be
Yeah.
that guy for Ricky, but I feel like that's only like half the tag team. When we have like both of us together working team by team, like it's quite dynamic.
And like I told Ben, and he knows this too. He's learning it as he's in development. But tag matches, there's an art. It's not just tag in, tag out when you want, and really to be a good tag team. If like most of your better tag teams in history have been quick tags. There's, they're in and out, in and out, in and out, right? It's just part of the element of it. And not everybody can do tag matches good like that,
Yeah,
There's some
100%.
there's some wrestlers that were really good. I'll give you an example. Greg Gagne in the AWA. He was great in the high flyers. Him and Jim Brunzell, excellent tag team, for the late 70s and into the 80s. But as a singles wrestler, forget it. Greg was, that's where you'd take a nap. He just wasn't exciting as a singles wrestler, So some guys are meant for tag team, and others, and they can't really do singles, and others can do both. How do you feel about it?
I don't know. I've always kind of struggled with tag team wrestling. I always enjoy longer matches now because I'm starting to get a bit of a memory for wrestling. But back then, when I started with Canary with the next level stuff, I feel like I struggled a lot with memory and memorizing what's going on, who's coming in, what's the next spot, where's this person going to be for this.
Yeah.
That was one of my main problems when I was in my early phase of wrestling. That's kind of another reason why I want to give Next Level another shot. Because now that I have the memory for wrestling, I feel like the quality of the tag team and the actual wrestling within the tag team will be a lot better.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think it goes without saying because you've learned more since then, and you've, both of you, and and that it sounds like you're up for it though, huh? So if it was presented to you, you wouldn't have a problem with it, right? Doing maybe a one-off or whatever. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a permanent thing. Even just bringing the tag team back for a match or two, type of thing, or for the tournament or whatever.
Give me a return whenever I can get it. I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, we got Canary Kid going after Gizmo now. What he says, he would have kicked butt in that tag match if he had more time. I think he did get the pin, if I remember.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
With my help.
Let's see. Ben's asking. Ben Nelson says, also, John, I think if you'll remember, you have never beaten him. Beaten Ben, he's saying. Beaten me.
I've never beaten Ben. That is true, but I haven't had a singles match against you, so don't let that fool you. I wouldn't say that. Don't let it fool you, because I can tell you now, your brother's been beat by me. You're next. If you really want the hands, you can come get them.
And he's got the hat on. He's ready to go, folks. So yeah.
Got the shillelagh as well off to the side.
There it is. There it is. Yes. Now, John, last time we talked on Keaton's show, Wrestling Revolution Keaton, you had said that you're maybe thinking of going back to the professional. Where are you at with your character? Is it still the Irish Grappler?
It's still the Irish Grappler, but there is bits and pieces that I do want to take from the previous idea of the professional. I loved my pacing around that time. I loved being able to control the ring like that. If I could do that as a face, I think I would. I'd enjoy it a lot more. I enjoy being paced, but the whole idea of being able to pace everything, it's so much nicer. That's why I like the professional so much, because that's where I could do that.
Sure. And one of the things, John, look at now, folks. Look at John. This is a very recent match, and just look at his physically. Look at him. I mean, he's very much changed from what he was when he first started. He's growing. You've grown out. You're not that that round pudginess is gone. You're really forming into a very, which I'm going to say is you've got a very, very prominent wrestler look. You've got the complete package of the look, right? And you're starting to learn the craft as well to the point where you're able to back it up. Now I know that we've talked, and you're like sometimes you think that you're not living up to the full expectations that maybe the fans have. But my thing is this, John. The fans are gonna. What you have to realize with fans is they were with you from the beginning, and they have seen you turn into what you have become, and they're enjoying the venture just like you are. And they're not looking, I wouldn't look at it that way. I would look at it like every day is a learning day. Every match is a learning experience. And you just keep growing little by little. And then you'll get to the point where you want to be. That's what it comes down to. And the
I agree,
fans, the
100%.
fans, they're just the fuel, right? They're just the fuel. They're going to keep fueling you. But they're never, I don't think you should ever worry about them expecting more than what you can provide. Because they've seen this journey, they know where you're at, and they're enjoying the ride just like you are.
100%.
That's the beauty of this business, They have it's all really we do this because yes, we have fun in the ring, but what do we really love? We love entertaining. We love the fan reaction. It's all it comes down to, right? So, see, getting the fans going. Yeah. But it's such a cool atmosphere here to see
It
these.
is. Our entire crowd from like day one to now has changed so much. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
Fireman's carry. Oh, that's the steamroller move you told me about. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that was a 3 count, folks. That was a 3 count.
It was.
Maybe I better do commentating with Keaton and we get this commentating going.
100%.
Yeah.
Over to Ireland and we'll get you Bigfoot.
There's a good question from. Well, Canary's got a bunch of them. Gosh, where do we begin? Well, I guess let's start with this. What's John's biggest pet peeve in pro wrestling?
I'd say one of my biggest pet peeves is I know it's like more of like a newer thing of where people who aren't really educated in the business, I'd say that rather than being new. People who just don't know how to listen or
Are you
can't
talking
call
about
listening.
like new trainees coming in or that kind of thing, or just people
Yeah,
that are
but
already in the
also
business?
you also have guys who might have been doing this 3, 4 years and still don't know how to talk to you in the ring. If you don't know how to talk to someone in the ring, how do you expect someone to know what's next, what's going on?
Are you talking about in match communication type of thing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you got people that are maybe 3 or 4 years and haven't figured that part out yet.
Yeah, like a lot of the
Yeah.
guys who 3, 4 years, because this island is so small, we don't have a big wrestling scene. Well, we do, but it's in pockets. So you've got Dublin down south, and then you've got up here, which you have maybe combination of about 8 or 9 promotions scattered around the island. So
Yeah.
being able to get repetitions and match and learn how to do actual wrestling, it's kind of difficult for people who don't have the connections.
Hmm.
So when you do end up working those kind of people, like you do notice a shift in not being able to call, not being able to talk to someone in the ring, even if it is just sit, wait. There's a lot of things you can talk to or talk about when you're in the
So,
ring.
so that's kind of like your pet peeve, though, is having people that don't understand the art of communicating properly during a match. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then Canary says, would John ever become a promoter or a coach in the business?
I think I'd be closer to becoming a coach because promoter wise, I don't feel like I've got the creative capacity to be able to tell someone what to do or come up with creative ideas for people. So,
Okay, well
but when it
that's
comes down to
okay.
wrestling,
Let's back up a minute now. So promoter slash booker. Normally you'd have a booker doing that, what you just described. But a promoter, though, really, honestly, to define it properly, a promoter is really looking over the whole operation, not just the match decisions. So,
Mhm.
like a promoter's job really is to come up with the venues, get the arenas booked or the areas booked that you're going to go to, just the whole operation of the league. So
Mhm.
looking into that, a lot of times you'll have somebody else. There's a lot of promoters that don't do the booking. So
Mhm.
don't think that you have to book just because you're the promoter,
Mhm.
But like,
True.
would you still be interested in that side of it if it wasn't deciding matches?
If I had kind of like a team with me, so say me and someone else, where I could like get the connections for promotions, get connections for talent, get connections for venues, being able to post their flyer, I could do all that kind of stuff. Like that's one of my strong suits where I'm able to kind of connect with people.
Sure.
But if it comes to creative stuff, I don't feel like I'd be that kind of person.
And let's move on here because Canary's asked like a bunch of questions in a row. I want to get him in here. What is John's favorite? I just love that spelling because we're not so used to seeing it over here that way. What is your favorite aspect of wrestling?
I feel like it's not even the actual wrestling itself. It's being able to see the impact that it has on people that we perform in front of. Because someone could walk in the our show having one of the worst days of their life, but after 2, 3 hours of sitting down watching what they love, it's just great to be able to see that we've had a good and positive impact on someone.
So having the fans that come to your dojo there to
Mhm.
watch the matches and to see that they really got their money's worth and were very entertained for the
That's it.
night. Yeah. Yeah, I can relate. And then
It's great.
yeah, and then Canary says which part of wrestling was John most excited for before he began the career? So what did you like about wrestling before you started wrestling?
Um, Before I actually started, so I'll kind of bring it back to like maybe the day prior to actually getting training. Um, the one thing I was most excited for, which everybody hated, was bumps. I just love taking bumps, and when I could whack out a really good flip bump, it was really good fun. It was my favorite part about it for a long, long time.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, there's always things you like doing. You know, I remember back in the day when I'd be in the ring, I could just naturally do it. I just walk forward and flip and land, right? And
Yeah,
we used to
100%.
practice. That was how we'd warm up all the time. We'd just keep doing that front. It's not really a roll, but you're just doing the front flip and then landing flat, right?
I know this is more you asking me questions and me getting questions from the fans, but I've actually kind of got a question for you, Crossan.
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching in the wee 3 minute promo video that you had before the show. Whose ring was that? The blue one with the
Oh,
white ropes.
that was our professional ring that we got from. We had that since 1986,
Mm-hmm.
and it was some small time indie promotion that was out in the outskirts of the cities where we live that we bought it from, and
Mm-hmm.
it was their ring, and we got it, and we had it for all those years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious though, why would you wonder where the ring came from?
I'm so interested in rings, like
Oh,
building, taking them down, and that's kind of one of my things that I love about wrestling as well. Like a lot of people hate the ring job, but being able to see each ring and like the work of art that someone's been able to do to architecturally like
sure.
design that ring, it
Okay.
is really cool to see.
So now that I know where you're coming from, let me explain it better then. So it was 2 feet off the ground and it was made like that specifically so we could get into different venues with low ceiling heights. Because a lot
Mhm.
of the places you'd go to, smaller places and that that was ideal. You didn't want the really, tall rings. So it was 2 feet off the ground. If you looked at the ring, it was in four sections. It was a 20-foot by 20-foot ring. And
Yeah.
there were four sections and it had a center spring in the middle. So there was a spring in the middle where all the four
Kind
beams, the main four beams came to, and that's where you'd get your bounce. And in each of those four sections were then straight beams that went across. Some were steel, but I think whoever built the ring ran out of funding and they started using 2x4s instead of steel. And so what would happen is if you got slammed in the right spot at the right time and hit one of those pine 2x4s, they'd break.
of.
And so
Oh,
so ideally we were starting to replace that with more steel just to get rid of that, so we didn't have that problem. And then it was plywood. Like a lot of the rings have the planks. These are
yeah, that's
plywood,
like more than UK ones that
right? So
have
these are just
plywood, yeah.
plywood. These are 8x4x8 plywood sheets that made up the
Mhm.
base. And then fiberglass padding we used. When we used fiberglass padding because it just wore like iron. Carpet
Mhm.
padding would fall apart very
Yeah,
quickly.
that's what we have, yeah.
Yeah, so we use fiberglass padding. And then eventually we got a canvas, but in the beginning we had to use a tarp because we couldn't afford a canvas. And the tarps they're okay. They look like a canvas, but man, they got hot as an iron in the sun. I mean, you would you land on it, you burn your back. Yeah, but it was a fun ring. It was a great. It was a comfy ring. You know, it was good to bump in. I mean, it was fun. It had enough absorption, you know, where you could really take some nice bumps. And yeah,
It looked nice, like, so it looked good.
yeah, and it was, you know, but the thing is, John, you know, we went now naturally when we did our show, though we progressed as we built all these makeshift rings. We started out really small and got bigger, but when we got that 20 by 20 ring, and I got very comfortable with that. When I went to Eddie Sharkey and wrestled for the first time in his ring when I was 16 in the PWA, and it was a joint card, his ring was 16 by 16. So you know, I was up against Steve, and all of our timing, we were used to our ring. So we're doing our regular match, but our timing was really affected because we were not used to that smaller ring. So that's one of the things I think is good for you guys is that, you know, you got that small ring in the dojo and you get comfortable with that, and you can definitely go to a bigger ring and not having the issues.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It's hard to go the other way.
Yeah, it is. It can be. Like, we've had guys who come in and like they don't like the ring or they don't like the size of the ring, while as we can work our stuff easy enough in it without hassle. Like, a lot of the guys nowadays don't have any issues with the ring, but like, it's really funny to see the guys who work in 18 foot, 20, 16 foot even,
Right.
ring and go, this isn't as big as I thought.
I know the timing there were certain moves I did that I'd have trouble with in a small ring like yours. So like I used to do, you know how you do a drop kick? Most guys will throw them against the ropes, they'll stand and they'll do a standing drop kick, right? Very common. Well, I would do it that way, but what I like to do more so is I would take my guy, throw him into the ropes, then I would hit the ropes, come running back and do a running drop kick, which you don't see as much. Much more. And that's what I did to Kelsey on that one where he said I dislocated his jaw, so he says. But I would have a tough time pulling that off in a 14-foot ring. I just don't have the room, you know, to make it all work. Yeah. But so I imagine you kind of limited a little bit on certain things, but I think it's good though to, like I said, to get your timing down for all it. You basically learn to keep everything in the center, you know, because it is so small. So, you know, that's good. So yeah, that was a good question. Now here's a question from Damian Thorne. Take a break from Ricky. He says, John, looking at the audience, I see you have a wide range of ages. He's talking about the fans, running from 3 years old to 70 years old. That says a lot about you relating to the audience.
Yeah, 100%. Like, our fan base has kind of grown and changed over time, but to be able to see that someone maybe older and someone younger can also relate to our stuff it's really cool to see because you don't see that everywhere.
Right. Yeah, I mean, very good point. And then to go back to the rings too, John, I know since you're interested in rings, Eddie Sharkey's ring, which was 16 by 16, and it was more of a traditional ring. It was about, you know, 3.5 feet off the floor or whatever. But he had the spring in the middle too, very much similar design as ours, right? But that spring, I don't know what it was, if it was just decoration, it did not bounce. So like when you took bumps in that ring, you bounced. So it was hell. They used to nickname it the hardest ring in Georgia the hardest ring in wrestling, I think is what its rumor was going around. Yeah, it was not a comfy ring. So just to put it in perspective. But yeah. But anyways, yeah, so let's get here to more questions. So Canary Kid says, John, how do you think that pro wrestling can affect a performer's mental health? Because he's interested in mental health on a serious note. So I'm sure that's why he's asking.
Personally, I'll kind of give my views on that. Like, it can be good and bad. One of the bad things that I kind of feel about wrestling is if you're not working every week or you're not working regularly, you can kind of I don't know if anybody else has felt this, but like when you're in the ring, you're really excited, you're happy, and then once you're out, you get a bit sad that you're not in it anymore, and maybe the day after you're kind of feeling, I wish I did this, wish I did that, and then if you're not working for weeks to be able to kind of correct yourself on mistakes, or maybe you've had a bad match, it can affect like not even just your mental being, but also like just your overall work in wrestling, and it can spiral pretty quick. But
And like I
yeah,
imagine when you have a bad match, the first thing on your mind, is, at least the way I am, is you want to have another chance to prove yourself again to make
100%.
up for that, right?
Yes, yeah,
You know, and for you guys, you guys have a training facility that can go to every what 2-3 times a week, and you can get in that ring, and even if it's not a show, you're at least getting in there. We never had
100%, yeah.
that. We never had that. You know, back in our day, a lot of the times, we'd show up for the dry dock, for instance, that promo we watched for what's coming up. We'd show up to there. We'd have maybe an hour or two of ring time. We could get in there while the ring was set up before the show started. That was it. So and then you said you're wrestling him, and okay, so we're gonna have a match, and like the match highlights that I was in there with Jamie. We never worked the match. We just said, okay, we're just gonna have a match. You just work it. That was the preparation. What's the match? You guys are so lucky to have a facility like Nathan has, where you can go to 2 or 3 times a week, practice, train, get better, so that when you do have your matches, they're much more enjoyable to watch. I wish we had that back in the day. I envy you guys for that. It's not that
Yeah,
we
it's
had the
probably,
ring, we just didn't have any place to set it up and do that. We didn't have the facility like Nathan has, is what I'm trying to say.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
I get you. Hmm.
Yeah.
It's a
So
privilege, like, it is.
I mean, it's a good thing. Um,
Hmm.
so Canary says, what is your favorite / funniest wrestling story that you've experienced in your career?
Um, I don't know if it's a good idea or not a good idea to tell this, but it's a really, to me, it's a funny one, just because it was out of nowhere. Right, you know what? I'll not tell that one. I'll save it for the next rewind that I'm on, because I gotta save something for the next time. But I'll tell you this one. I was told a story one time about a promoter who told everybody that was in a battle royal, bar one person, that they were winning it. So there was maybe about 20 guys all in this one rumble, thinking that they were all going to win it. And then there was one guy that was clued in on it, the fact that he knew he was legitimately winning it, but all the other guys had been told that they were winning it.
Yeah. How'd that go?
Uh, uh, I think it all kind of came down to like the one guy that was legitimately told that he was going to win it, like notifying people, "You're out, you're out, you're out," while they're in the ring, even though they thought they were going to win it. Yeah, it must have been a cluster. Like it
Well, that's a
never, I
better.
wasn't allowed to see it, but
That had to be. Well, it's like we just had a battle royal on the show we watched, and it was the
mhm.
black eye of the whole thing, because 3 guys tried to take it over, and against me, I was against 3 guys, and I couldn't. Look, I can handle anybody, but when it's 3-on-1, and they legitimately tried to screw me out of it, and so it's the only thing that went bad, and the battle royal looked like shit. It's just me surviving in there, right? Taking a brutal
Yeah,
beating, but legitimately, I mean, they weren't hitting, but they were rough as hell. They were stiff. They were not letting me win. And that battle royal did not look good. So I was more mad because I knew the battle royal looked like shit. That's why
yeah, you
I
were
could care less. If I just would have known, I mean, we could have worked out a routine or whatever, but they just made it look like hell. That's what I didn't like. Battle royals can be very fun if you do them right, right?
100%.
Get
Hmm.
really cool ways of getting thrown out. Let me give you a story.
Yeah,
One time, Bobby the Brain Heenan, won a battle royal. You know how he won it?
how do you win?
He went under the ring and hid until everybody else was, because you can go under the bottom rope. He went and hid until everybody else was thrown out. Then he went in and pushed the guy out when he wasn't looking. Typical Heenan, classic.
Oh, that's
Bobby
Some
the
of the
Brain.
best work in the end of, or no, yeah, no, it was WWF back then. Best work was probably from Brain. Bobby
Oh
Heenan.
yeah, commentating wise, he was. But before his commentating as a manager, he was one of the best workers back then, John. Like he was like you could put him in a match and he could work and never was
Yeah.
trained, was never trained, but he just knew
Was
he
he
could
not?
work. Yeah, he never was trained. He just
That's
knew he
great.
could work. He started out as a manager, and then
Mhm.
knowing that he could work, he knew he would make. It was all about making more money because if you work, you make more money. So it was all about the money for Bobby, So,
Mhm.
but yeah, he was phenomenal for that time period for
Mhm.
just being a good worker. Canary Kid also has another question. Surprise, surprise. He says, Canary, I'm not dissing you. I'm glad you're asking questions because these are good questions.
They actually are, for once. They are.
What part of wrestling did it take you the longest to pick up, and what part did it take you the quickest to pick up? So, what took the longest, and then what was the opposite of that? What was the quickest in your training?
I feel like the longest to pick up was technical wrestling. To be able to know how someone's body moves, to contort them in a way where it's legitimate wrestling,
So all the
it's an art.
different tie ups and reversals and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
100%. And I don't feel like I've fully mastered it yet, but I feel like I've got bits and pieces down where I can put together maybe a section of a match that is technical wrestling based and that actually looks half decent. And then the quickest to pick up, I feel like was more the high flying stuff. Even though that's not really anything that I really wanted to be able to do, I feel like I always had a natural athleticism for being able to jump and being able to just move myself in ways to be able to do things such as drop kicks, being able to do
sure.
things such as flips off tops. You
Well,
name it.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you this: I've been watching all you guys drop kicking, and drop kicking was my thing. One thing you
Mhm.
guys should work on, though, and I'm going to say that this is just constructive criticism because you guys are good, but
Yeah, go ahead.
keep your feet tight together and do that horizontal turn and then do your drop kick. Make it look pretty picture perfect. You know what I mean? Where your feet stay clasped together and locked
Mhm.
together. That's
Mhm.
the art of a good drop kick. Jumpin' Jim Brunzell had the
Yeah.
best. That's who I always watched and tailored mine
Mhm.
after. Um, if you ever watch any of his old stuff, watch his drop kicks. They're beautiful. But
I'll tell you one person that has a fantastic drop kick in NXT, and it's so underrated, and I don't know why no one else does it like him.
mhm,
But it's literally exactly how you're describing it, and it's Nathan Hoy's, Nate Maddox.
mhm.
He's got a class drop kick, and it looks really good, especially in photos and stuff. When you have the
Yeah.
guy horizontal and the other guy standing there to take it,
Yep. And you
it's sick.
get him, great here, right?
Mhm.
And the way I used to practice the drop kick is very funny. I used to I'd have Stenerson hold those big punching bags in the gym.
Mhm.
I'd have him hold it and I'd mark my spots and I would just drop kick the punching bag. That's how I'd practice getting the height. And
Mhm.
yeah, I used to do that because back in Eddie's training camp, a lot of times he didn't have a ring; he just had the wrestling mat pads. So for the
Mhm.
stuff like that, you had to just be creative to be able to practice it. It wasn't fun landing on those wrestling mat pads doing a
Oh
drop
yeah,
kick,
no,
but
couldn't
yeah,
imagine that.
but it still was fun to be. And I would always try to aim higher than me, so I'd purposely try to pick a spot like much a foot higher than me and then drop kick that spot because that way, the higher you practice it, the easier it is to make it look nice and vertical. So,
Yeah, 100%.
let's see. Gizmos, and I'm gonna read. I don't. It's a big thing to read, so I'm gonna read it right in here. It says, "Crusher, your battle royale was funny and entertaining. After you explained what happened and what was supposed to happen, yeah. What would have let's see, it says would have been a great ending if all the other wrestlers came in and helped you out because that's what was going to happen, John. The
Mhm.
other guys started understanding what was happening. These three
Mhm.
guys were doing, and they were going to come and rush the ring, and it was going to get real, and they're going to throw their asses out. And
Mhm.
that would have got pretty. I don't know what would. I'm kind of glad it went the way it did because one of those guys was a Golden Gloves boxer, John Hoffman, went to nationals. He knew how to fight. It could have got pretty ugly.
Yeah.
So it's probably a good
You don't
thing
want
that
to pick a
didn't
fight with that
happen.
guy?
What's that?
You don't want to pick a fight with that guy?
No, and
Right,
the other guy that was instigating this, he was known for scrapping. So it would have been ugly. So yeah, but so back to John though. I want to point out to everybody beneath John, you see all his social links, his YouTube, his Instagram, his Facebook. Make sure you give him a follow, subscribe to his channel. And I forgot to mention you guys, and I want to mention this too, John, just not to take away from your interview, but we got some great news this week on YouTube. We got into monetization with that video that went viral. Thankfully, it kicked us into the first phase of it. So now we can do super chats and we can do, you can do thank you things, and that's all cool. But the thing I'm excited about is we can do memberships. And one of the things I'm looking, and I'm going to roll it out here, everybody. I know you guys, we have our video network, but I'm gonna bring the video network into YouTube as a membership. So that way you can just be a member on YouTube and pay through YouTube, and you'll have access to the video network right here on YouTube. So that'll be kind of cool. So that'll happen. It's going to take me a little bit to get all the videos in to YouTube, but it will only be available to those subscribing members that go into that membership. So those videos won't be available to everybody. So it's one of the nice things they have, John, when YouTube and you have memberships. You can segregate videos and stuff just for your members. So
that is pretty cool. That's a fantastic
yeah. So
thing to have.
that'll be cool.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And hopefully, if we get a few more watch hours, we'll get into the final phase, and then we can actually get the ad revenue, which is really what you want on YouTube.
Fingers crossed.
Once you get enough views. You know, John, that's what you should be doing too. You should really be promoting your YouTube channel and getting your matches in there and stuff. Start getting a following there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I know that
100%.
Subforce Arnie in the UK, he did it right away when he was starting out, and he got all sorts of views, and he went into monetization very early.
Mm-hmm.
So he was actually making quite a bit of money on YouTube just for people. You know, he's got like, oh my gosh, I think he's got 6,000 or 7,000 subscribers, and they all, you know, so he puts his videos in there and they get tons of views, and he gets all of this ad revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's what I'd be doing. All of you guys, that goes for Canary Kid and all you guys, you should start getting your social media presence and really get, you know, your channel of your stuff and really start promoting it, you know, start getting a following. I think it's a good thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What else? So I want to see now. Canary asked so many questions. I want to see what else was I going to ask? I'm going to make sure I don't want to double up here. Well, what's the future for John McCann? Where do you see yourself going here in the next 5 years, 10 years? What do you want to pursue in your career with this?
Next 5 years, short-term goal: make connections and try and make connections with people who can actually bring you places. As much as you can do that, just try and do that.
Sure.
Like Nathan can bring me so many places. Like he's one of the best connections that I have at the moment. Just try and make as many connections like that can help me out, but also I can try and benefit them in some sort of way. And then long-term goal, just like everybody else, I want to try and get signed to a major company, or at least get work for a major company.
And when you say major company, are you thinking Europe or North America, or it doesn't matter where?
Well, there's 5 main companies that like I would consider as major companies. Places such as NWA, MLW, AEW, WWE, New Japan. Yeah, those would be my main ones that I'd say that I'd really love to get work for.
Yeah, and of course, you know, if you want to get into some of these ones over here, you'd have to plant your flag over here somewhere and start making a presence, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it all starts with the indie feds, and there's a lot. The thing is with the US, there's so many, they're all over, and it's like, you know, you just got to get exposure, right?
100%. Yeah, it's difficult, especially as well for Canadian wrestlers, which I've noticed it's difficult for them to be able to break out quite a lot.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, everything all happens, you know, with the more that you're committed to it, the more hard work you put in, the more payoffs you get, and then Sometimes it also becomes down to a lucky break. And when you get that lucky break, it can open the door to who knows what.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've always been a big advocate of, hard work pays off. And if you continue to work hard at your craft and keep getting better at what you do in that ring, that will eventually pay off for you, in due time. So it's like, never give up on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I've told everybody this, John, the only person that's going to stop you from getting there is you.
Mm-hmm.
So once you beat that hurdle and realize that nothing's going to stop you if you stay committed and be determined and, gain that confidence to just make it happen and not take no for an answer, sky's the limit. It's that simple. Yeah. Let's see. What's Canary Kid saying? He's chiming in again here. He says, question for John. Does he know that Crossan is American and not Canadian? I live very close to Canada, Ricky. When I was in Minnesota, Canada was probably a 3-hour drive, 4-hour drive north. In fact, people sometimes think I'm Canadian just because of my accent, but because we have the Minnesota accent similar. But, what Canada's got to remember, I know he's a big fan of Canada, but what Canada's got to remember is if it wasn't for the United States, every other country around would take a piece of their hide, and then where we go, we protect them along with Mexico. But yeah, nah, I just got to just trying to get under Ricky's skin again. That's all. Because I know he's a big fan of Canada. I have friends in Canada though, so it's like, I have no problem with Canada. Even though when you go there, you got to kind of roll your clock back 20 years. They're a little behind, but But by the way, over there in Ireland, do you guys drive on the right side or left side of the road? I'm curious.
So we drive on the left side of the road, so we do.
Oh dear. Yeah, that would be hard for me to drive over there.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy one. And then I believe your guys' actual cars as well. Yous are on the left side as well, is that?
No, we drive on the right side. If going on the highway, we're in the right lane.
Oh no, not like lanes. You know what I mean? As in like, so in our cars, so the right.
Oh, I don't mean the
Right.
steering wheel. You're
Yeah,
talking about
yeah.
the steering wheel. No, I'm talking about driving. Like, do you have to drive on the right side or do you drive on the left side of the road?
Oh yeah, we drive in left.
Yeah, so you're European style. Yeah. Yeah, be hard for me. So yeah, maybe if I come out there to visit next year, I'm gonna have to just Uber or Lyft it or whatever there is or taxi because I don't want to. I'll screw up and go down the wrong lane of the highway is what I'll do. Crusher, how much did you weigh when you were John's age? And John, what do you weigh now? Well, for me, like when I was 17, 18, I was about 145 is what I weighed. Between 135 and 145, give or take.
We'll get that calculated. So well, is that pounds? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pounds, not kilos.
Okay, so 140. What did you say there?
I weighed between 135 and 145, give or take.
I'll whack that in for us so we can kind of figure that one out. So 135 in kilos is drum roll 61 or 62 kg.
Yeah. And then you though, he wants to know what you weigh currently.
Last time I checked, I was 75. I believe I've went up in weight a wee bit, so I'm probably around the 79, 80 mark.
So 79 to 80 kilos, that's probably around 170, 180 pounds.
Something around that, yeah. Probably.
So yeah, but you can tell, like if you're trying to compare me and John, John's definitely filled out more than I was. I was kind of skinny like Canary Kid, thinner. I could have used a little more weight for sure back in the day. Now I could get rid of some of this weight, but back then I would. I'm like John. I'm just like John. I could eat whatever I wanted, and it didn't matter. That's how it is when you guys are young. Um,
hmm
Ben says, does John still play with his wrestling figures? It's funny you brought that up, Ben, because John and I just had a big conversation on all that right before we went live. We were talking about all that.
Yeah, we were indeed. In all honesty, yes, I do. Why not? One of my biggest things though is I love collecting old school figures. Like this Harley race was
Oh,
like so difficult to track
that is
down, and
cool.
I got it, and I was so happy
Yeah.
with it. But I've got like a box just full of old school figures, and that's the kind of wrestling I like. I like the '80s WWF wrestling and a wee bit of World of Sport and NWF.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
well,
kind of
I love the 80s. What I really liked about the 80s, John, was I love the territory days when before Vince took it over. When you had the legitimate territories and you had three prominent leagues, AWA, WWF, and NWA. And
hmm
those were the big three. That's what we called it, the big three. And
hmm
they were the prominent leagues. And um, when the NWA was all over because they had all the different smaller territories within the NWA.
hmm
And WWF, of course, used to be WWF, and they used to be part of the NWA, and they broke
hmm
off, right? So did the AWA; they broke apart too, and that's how we got the three leagues that we had. So I loved it. I mean, I wasn't a fan of Vince McMahon when he was taking over everybody. Like he stole all of our talent out of the AWA, and it just pissed me off. Like
Yeah,
yeah, that whole when he was plucking talent out, I was mad. I mean, I was a big Hulk Hogan fan when he was in the AWA, but when he went to the WWF, I'm like, he's not the same anymore. It's like when you
hmm
lose your star quarterback, he went to the other team. That's what it kind of felt like.
hmm
So, and so I wasn't a fan of Vince doing all that. And I've always, I mean, all the kids growing up though, John, like all of us in the show and everything, they were all on that, most of them were on that WWF bandwagon.
Yeah,
But
100%. Yeah.
I was still a fan of the AWA. I kind of stuck to the AWA, and a lot of my other friends were, AWA/NWA. We like that better. WWF was
hmm
cool, but it was glitz and glamour and showbiz,
hmm
where the NWA and AWA was like, this is real. Get a hold your trunk, wool tights. It's real. It felt more real to us.
hmm
Yeah.
I get
So
you. Like I started watching like I think it's something like '70s NWA, and it's kind of crazy to watch '70s '80s NWA to be able to see the 5 minute matches that they're having. It's so different to like the '80s WWF. You had Hogan, Warrior, even like the bad guys. You'd have Rick Rude, Goldust.
yeah.
It wasn't the same kind of wrestling. It was legitimate wrestling compared to something that was designed for television around the world.
Well, you know what was very similar to, I don't know if you've ever seen any of the Ring of Honor stuff, but that
Yeah,
got to be a lot more old school looking, you know,
yeah,
more traditional.
100%.
Yeah. Let's see. Ben's asking. Let's bring this in. If you could book NIPW, who would be your champions and why? Can't choose yourself, so don't try to put John McCann in that mix. Although, why, Ben? When I ran the NWF, I had no trouble making myself the champion. So I don't know why. Why would you say that? A lot of leagues operate that way, Ben. Though, honestly, like when you own the promotion, and the reason they make themselves champions is because it's a trust factor. You trust yourself. You
Mhm.
know, that's what it came down to back in the day. Anyways, go ahead. What would you do?
So if myself, I'm out of the picture, obviously I would have been first choice, but I'm not anymore, unfortunately. I mean, I know it's everybody's first choice to put me as champ first anyway, so there's going to be 1,000 other people. If you ask them that question, I'm going to be first. So, um, it's kind of difficult to put it down to two people. Like, if we even add in the tag team titles, right? Say we add in the tag team titles, it's going to be like Steiner math here. Um, Tag titles would probably go to Didi and his tag partner, Sage.
Sage.
Yeah, because although they haven't broke out properly yet, I do believe within the next 2 to 3 years they are going to be the top two in Ireland as a whole, and possibly even the UK, as the two of them have been non-stop on top. It's all go go go. It's pretty good. It's kind of crazy to see where they've came from to where they are now.
I just can't see him
And
being baby faces. I just can't see it though.
yeah,
Like
no,
definitely a heel. And I
yeah,
don't know.
100%.
It just have he. Crix has that look, and
Mm-hmm.
with Sage with all the tattoos and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a perfect image for them to be
It is
heels.
indeed. Yeah,
Yeah.
they do look pretty sick as a tag team. Our world champ. Usually, world champions tend to be either like someone you know, or else like a proper import. Um, but personally, I'd probably keep it on Chris Mercer because Chris Mercer, although he is not the most high flying wrestler, and he'd probably even tell you that himself, he is one of the most all rounder wrestlers that we have.
Yeah.
How
And
can
a
I
nice,
rephrase that?
really nice guy. I really enjoyed interviewing him with Keaton. This is a great
Hmm.
guy. You know,
Yeah.
especially when we talked off the show, on our after we went off the air.
Hmm.
Really good, just a good head on his shoulders.
100%. And like
Yeah,
that's not just wrestling isn't just that one thing you do in the ring. It's something that you take on as soon as you walk through that curtain, whether that's after a show, before a show, you see a fan out, you've got to be that person that they see out and on the stage. Like it's more than just being able to lock up. It's to be able to make someone's day, and I feel like he has that superstar factor. Not
yeah.
of just being able to wrestle pretty decent, but also the fact that he understands how to work with people very, very well. So he's a good company person,
So
in my opinion.
I got to ask you this, John. I usually ask guests this. The back in the day when we did our first live event in our show, was this event right here that I got the shirt on? It's just a
Perfect.
coincidence that I'm talking about it though. But when we did this event though, it was the first time in public, in paid admission and everything, and it was 300 and some people there. And what happened is when I got done with my match,
Mhm,
because mine was the main match, when I left the
mhm,
ring, I had all these little kids, like I want to say 7 to 9 year olds range, just
mhm,
coming up. We had programs, so they had pens.
mhm,
They're programming pens and just wanting my autograph, and I didn't even think that
mhm.
that would happen. That just like totally caught me off guard. And so I
100%. Yeah.
start signing them all, and I get this. It's all on video. You can see this, and they're all around me, crowding me, and I'm signing them, and I was so humbled and just overwhelmed with that. I just knowing that these kids want your autograph. It just I never thought it never came across my mind.
Mhm.
Did you ever have anything like that happen with kids coming up to you like that as well at any of your
Yeah, like,
shows?
I don't know if Keaton's ever told you this, but there was this one time that me and Canary were out, and coincidentally, I was out figure shopping, seeing if I could find the new series, and then walked in the entertainer in the town in Belfast, and Keaton was around the corner. I was like, Ricky, Keaton's around the corner. And Ricky was like, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? And I was like, give me a second. We turned around the corner and Keaton's eyes just lit up. And I was like, it's kind of crazy to see that they're dead than me. But also, that also kind of makes your day as well. Like,
Yeah.
there's no better feeling than knowing that someone else has been made happy by you.
Just to follow up with Keaton, when I learned that he was very inspired with us, by reading seeing I think he's seen parts of the documentary back on YouTube, and he learned that we did what we did, and it really inspired him to want to try to do it himself. And he's told us this, to
Mhm.
hear that you got a kid that's been inspired like this all the way in Ireland, that we
Yeah.
reached to that point, from what we did 40 years ago.
Hmm.
It's to me is still remarkable. And I, like you just said, you're making somebody's life happen by what you did,
Hmm.
ultimately, or what you do, you know. So
100%.
that's pretty cool stuff. Let's see. Well, and just kind of going with that, Sports Talk 117 is asking, John, do you do autographs for fans, and do you spend time talking with your fans?
Yeah, it's always the best part of the show. Like if you get talking to Nathan again, 100%. If you ask him this question, what's the one thing that I always ask to do at a show? It's can I go and see the fans? Can I go and meet people after the show? It's not always like the biggest bunch that are looking to see me, but you know what? There's always that one or two fans. Like one of our wee trainees called Noah, always, always at the show. I always bring him out for my entrance. He always gets a wee pop from it. He loves it. And every
Yeah.
time I see him after the show, I get a hug and stuff. So it
And,
makes my day.
and when I seen that one video, I think it was on the show that we watched. You had all those little kids with this hat and everything, and the stick things, and they're little John McCanns. That's got to be cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's got to
it
be
is.
real
So good to
cool.
see.
I mean, you're definitely setting an impact to those kids, whether you know that or not. You're making an impression with them. It's
Mhm.
just the reality. So that's a special thing.
It is. It
Uh,
really is. There's nothing like it.
Ben's asking a question too. He says, and then probably gonna get ready to wrap it up here, guys, because it's getting late for John and we're getting towards the end of the show. But Ben says,
I can talk all day, so get me on for episode 2. Let's go.
yeah, then again, you probably go do a Broadway, no problem, right? By the way, I'm going to ask you about that. John, do you remember the first wrestling match or segment you ever watched? So, we never talked about that. What was the first thing you watched wrestling wise that got you like, I like this stuff. I'm interested in this.
I kind of came into it in a weird way because how I was introduced to it was by actual wrestling figures. I think I've said this story on Keaton's channel, but like it was a Christmas time. Me and my cousin were sitting watching wee bit of superhero stuff. I don't know what it was. I think it was something like Marvel or something like that. It was on the TV, comics and stuff, and he just brought out the wrestling figures in the wrestling ring, and I was like, "Oh, what are these?" And he was like, he started explaining wrestling to me, and I was like, "So, right, let me get this right. So you've got good guys and you got bad guys?" And he was like, "Yeah, like," and they do all this, that, and the other. And I was like, "Right, I gotta watch this. I gotta watch this." And at the time, we didn't really have like the proper Sky TV, which is what we have in the UK. We just had like a few channels, and one of them was TNA. I do remember watching bits and pieces of TNA, but my first proper memory of wrestling was the storyline that Bray Wyatt did with Daniel Bryan. I do remember that
Okay.
100%. And then they had the Shield and stuff.
So you're kind of a fan of the Shield in the beginning?
Yeah,
I
yes.
love the Shield. I love the whole gimmick. I wish they would have kept doing it longer. Just
Yeah, I
the
was
whole
happy.
entrance, I
Yeah.
I went to a live show. It was one of the pay-per-views, Elimination Chamber, and they came out to see that live in person where they just come from the crowd. It's
Mhm.
crazy. What
It's so
a
good.
unique thing,
100%. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you about Broadways. I don't know if you've ever done a 60-minute match. I did one in my life, and I thought I was going to die afterwards because we did not pace ourselves real well. We just went
Mhm.
all out and gave them everything we had, and and Broadways, just so everybody knows, aren't exactly 60 minutes. It's just a technical thing. I think our Broadway was more around 50, but as far as the fans were concerned, it was 60. It's just you always fudge it a little bit. It's it's just the way it is. But anyways, when I was done, I remember I had cotton mouth, right? It was just physically exhausted, and I was 16 at the prime of my life, and I was exhausted. And I went to the. I didn't gas out, but when I was done, I was done. Then I went to the concession stand, and I of course I'm running the show, and I went up there and I said, I'm not paying for it. I said, give me a Coke, and I slammed one, and I slammed another, and because we didn't have bottled water in these days, so I just needed some liquid. So I chucked 3 cans of Coke, and I was still thirsty. Have you ever done a long match like that, like a Broadway or anything?
I've never had the opportunity to be able to do anything over 40 minutes. If I had the choice to be able to do it, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Like, it's something that I love to do, just to be able to
Yeah,
wrestle for an hour. And nonetheless, not just that, be able to keep the fans interested for anything over that space of time. That's something special, and that's something that not everybody can do.
you're right. Yeah,
Very difficult thing to do, especially even 15 minutes, 20. You give someone an hour, that really shows how much of a professional wrestler they are.
yeah. And and to know, even though we could have timed it better and did more rest holds, so we could be a little bit better lasting it. But I had a fan come up to me when I was chucking those cokes, and he wanted to shake my hand and everything and congratulate me. And I didn't know who he was, some guy in his 30s. And I thought to myself, because I was bummed out, John, on this show because we only had 50 people there, and
Mhm,
50 is a decent crowd, but not for us. We just did 350, and now we got 50, and I'm like, what the hell happened here? And
mhm,
because it was just felt like a disappointment. But then when
mhm,
this guy did this, though, I thought, yeah, it made me feel good. This guy got his money's worth.
mhm.
So, and
100%. Yeah.
I remember telling the guys too, because everybody's kind of bummed. And I said, guys, I said, let's put the sour faces. I said, these people that are out there, those 50 people, they paid. We got to put a show on for them, irregardless. I don't care if there's 5 people out there. We put the same show on. I had to give them a little
Mhm,
pep talk, right? Because
mhm.
we just weren't used to that. 50 people. But now I look at it back now, John. 50 people in an indie show is not bad. It's not nothing to be,
It's
you
not.
know. Yeah. So, but it is what it is. But I suppose we should wrap it up, John. What
Uh,
I gotta go over what's coming up on our future shows here for everybody, just so they know what's coming up. So let me just bring the thumbnails in quick. We seen the promo video earlier today. Let me get rid of that comment. I forgot to get rid of the comment. Everybody else says you got to get rid of the comment. There we go, so you can read it. At Studio Taping 110 from the Dry Dock will be our next show that Dave and I watch. That's going to be next Thursday. First Dry Dock show, so it'll be a fun one. So make sure you guys all tune in for that one on Thursday. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing Dave again, and yeah, it'll be a fun show. And then the next after this, hang on, I got to get back to my layers. So after that, and then the following Sunday, so a week from, I guess it'd be or is it this coming Sunday? I don't know. I'm reading the thumbnail, and I'm always getting mixed up. I think it's this coming Sunday, isn't it? Yes, the first. Will be Joe Cabray, the architect of OTT Wrestling, live on Kayfabe with Keaton, with me and Keaton. So that'll be a great conversation to talk about OTT Wrestling, everything he's done, plus his history. Should be a great interview. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's what's coming up on Keaton's show. So John, did you have fun? I mean, talked about a lot of stuff, and
I had tons of fun. Tons
yeah,
of fun.
it was great
Hmm.
learning more about you and what you've done so far, where your aspirations are, where you want to go. Like I said, I'm a big advocate of hard, like I said earlier, hard work will pay off, and I think
Hmm.
if I had to say from everything I've seen, and I know Canary's up there too, but I think that they always say the hardest working person in showbiz. I would say the hardest working person in NIPW, John McCann. I think you have definitely worked hard ever since you got in there, and you really
Hmm.
take pride in the accomplishments you've got, and I think it shows.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's hard work pays off, and I think you're going to keep going places as long as you keep that mentality, and I think it's in your blood. There's no doubt about that.
100%. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, thanks for tuning in this week, and like I said, we will be back next week, and we'll talk more about the membership stuff that I talked about with the monetization and everything. Dave and I will go over that more next week, so we'll tune into that more. And just FYI, my next Forward show in 2 weeks. I don't have a thumbnail yet, but we'll be talking to Sean Alexander, LAX, former TNA World Tag Team Champion, and his young trainer, who goes by Officer Smalls, it's a trainee, I should say, is starting a wrestling school and academy, and he's bringing in youngsters like that. And I'm really looking forward to learning all about what they're doing in San Antonio, Texas. Should be a great conversation there as well. So, all right. So, John, thanks for tuning in, and for everybody else, we will see you around the next time around, which is going to be here Sunday coming up with Keaton. Will be the next time around live. So we'll see you then.